Hey Ian, ready for another edition of the Iancast?
Yep, absolutely. How's it going?
Good. How's your Friday morning so far?
Going great.
Yeah, so as you know, we're going through the stock market where it's now in full recovery, and many people have doubts because things like Apple and stuff like that are being bid back up again, largely for no reason other than the big money with the tens of billions, hundreds of billions, maybe even trillions has nowhere to go other than to buy stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. So that's the big difference between looking at the indices and looking at the America 2.0 stocks, which a lot of which are not mega caps like $1 trillion Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, those kind of companies. And we're seeing the cloud CLOU, that ETF that does cloud software stocks, that's an all-time high. SMH, which is semiconductors, that ETF's at an all-time high. So America 2.0 stocks are running like crazy. And if you looked at like the Dow or the S&P, you wouldn't see that. The NASDAQ, you would a little bit more because that's making new highs. But, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, that's still like over 20% of the NASDAQ. So you don't really see the kind of growth that's going on behind the scenes if you just look at the indices.
Yeah, it was amazing to me. I put up this tweet saying that the Profits Unlimited equal weighted portfolio, which means every single stock bought on the day we recommended it at the closing price, it's there, equal weighted by dollar amount, is up, I believe, I don't know, something in the range of 17% this year.
Yeah.
And the S&P 500, in contrast, is flat, Ian, flat.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it really does really illustrate that fracture, that divide between America 1.0 and America 2.0. S&P 500, because it is a market cap weighted index, is very 1.0.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you got all the old oil companies, the big banks that take up like a big amount of the S&P 500, while software companies, a lot of which are below $20 billion in market cap. Semiconductors, a lot of those are, there are some big ones, but a lot of them are probably below 20, 30 billion. So the smaller companies are definitely doing better. Biotech is another one with a bunch of small cap, mid cap companies that are now making new highs.
Yeah, and we would tell you that in our judgment, the S&P 500 is going to lag the NASDAQ for sure. And it's definitely going to lag our portfolio because we exclusively focus on America 2.0 stocks, which means we're focusing on stocks that are exposed to the big mega trends of our time, technologies of our time, the millennial generation, which is the generation that is now largely directing what is going on in the economy, society, etc. And if you're interested in getting a portfolio that is full of that and one that has just completely trounced, destroyed the S&P 500 since inception. And we've got now 4 years worth of actual recorded information on this done by our amazing colleague, Patrick Goodrich. Yes, the Profits Unlimited Equal Weight portfolio since 2016, begun on June 1st, 2016. And so 4 years, it's been annualizing in at 30% versus the S&P 500, which I think is single digits. I forget what the number is. I did put up this tweet. Maybe
Yeah.
you can put that up. But the contrast is just extraordinary. And I believe is the difference is that point of view, which is we have focused pretty much from about 3 or 4 months in when it was clear that old stocks like GE, IBM, and stuff like that, they were not going to be the vehicles for America 2.0. They were going to be represented by new companies that really implemented the new technology, new ways of doing things, new business model, and that's the reason for the outperformance in the Profits Unlimited portfolio versus the S&P 500.
Yeah. So with the 1.0 company, real quick, just to throw in it's way easier to just start a new company that's aimed and focused on America 2.0 type things than to try and change a multi-hundred-billion-dollar company like IBM or GE. You got to change so many people's minds. You got to revamp your entire business model, and it just doesn't work. So yeah, the new is taking over. And that's really, a lot of the reason why is because it's easier to just start from scratch and just build an innovative company from there.
Yeah, and one of the themes that we have in our portfolio is the idea of new energy. Tesla, in many ways, is the encapsulation of that idea and the encapsulation of this divide between America 1.0 and America 2.0. And if you want to check out this portfolio and see how we've done this and get new recommendations in the future that are exclusively focused in America 2.0, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain, new energy, precision medicine, space, new materials, 3D printing, all of these things. Click on the strong hands above. It's going to take you to my presentation on endless energy, black magic. A lot of people love this presentation. Also gives you an invitation to subscribe to Profits Unlimited. So check that out. And just to go back to a discussion, many people are going to now be thinking, because the Dow is now finally the laggard that it is, which is stuffed with America 1.0 companies, Wells Fargo, gosh,
Yeah.
I mean, and stuff like that, because it's going up largely for liquidity reasons. I'm thinking that even their businesses are going to recover, but nonetheless, it does make both of us feel like it feels a little bit like March right before the crash, because that liquidity bid was coming under Apple and stocks like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's way easier to buy Apple when you buy, like, the S&P 500 is the most liquid, traded thing in the stock market in the world. So when you buy that, you buy number one, Apple. And Apple's also, of course, buying back a ton of shares of their own. So they have a lot of demand for their stock. As these companies take over, they're not going to represent as much in the indices. And they have to stop putting, tens of billions of dollars worth of money into their stock every year anyway.
Yeah, I mean, just to make clear, we are bullish, optimistic, positive, which is our hashtag that we use on Twitter. Ian, go ahead and plug your Twitter account. I'll do it next.
I am at Ian Dyer Guru.
And I am at Mampilly Guru, bullish, optimistic, positive on America 2.0 stocks. We are not bullish, optimistic, positive on Apple. And I will raise my hands and say I am guilty as charged for getting Apple stock wrong, because I have focused on their business, which has been in decline for 4 years plus. And without Warren Buffett coming in, sucking in, I don't know, about 40, 50 billion in the open market, I mean, imagine like throwing that much money. That's like throwing, fuel onto flames and then adding it on to, I went and did this number, 2014 to 2019, they have bought up nearly $295 billion worth of stock, which Warren Buffett thinks is a good idea. He thinks that a company, companies spending money to buy back their stock is a good idea. So it's a false bid up of price, false creation of scarcity of price versus investing in perhaps the greatest technology opportunity in our lifetimes. In other words, there's these extraordinary technologies that are out there. And what is Apple doing? Apple is creating a music subscription business to tie people to the iPhone. So, I mean, it's already a $1.4 trillion company. And I get trolled on Twitter about Apple, and that's fine. I'm happy to take this trolling. That's fine. However, you go look at their business. I mean, their revenue is in steep decline. Their unit volume growth is in steep decline. And inevitably, their stock will for sure follow their business. However, I still feel like what's going to happen is that the indices will reconstitute themselves with America 2.0 companies, and then even the Dow, the laggard that it is, will then eventually make new highs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's got to be some reconstituting of that eventually. And one of the big ones that's not even in the S&P 500 at this point is Tesla. They're worth over $100 billion now.
Yeah, I mean, and Tesla stock has been making new highs. A lot of excitement about Tesla. We've covered Tesla a great deal. We were called a lot of names, a lot of foolish things by people for actually through this entire period. Because number one, we told people that there would be a V recovery. And, there were all those other things, I mean, that people said were going to happen. Double bottom. What are some of the others?
The W recovery.
Yeah.
Retest the lows,
which we don't hear anything about. And we're also called fools for saying that Tesla would go to $1,000 and it's happened. It's $1,400. We're not hearing anything. We don't have to cover Tesla today because I feel like there's like a ton of excitement out there. We will say that, listen, there are more stocks than Tesla in the stock market that are America 2.0 stocks. And so, it's always important to have a portfolio. And Tesla stock does go up and down. Please look at a stock price chart of Tesla. The last time it went to 1,000, it did then go back, first to 700, and then in the crash to 350. So please, just keep your head and wits about you. Just because everyone else is focusing on Tesla right now is not a reason for you to now just be focused exclusively on Tesla. It's a large market with a lot of great, incredible opportunities that are out there in so many different sectors.
For sure. Yeah. And, we're seeing all kinds of, alternative energy stocks go up. TAN, the ETF that we cover for that, which is mostly solar, that's now rallying like crazy. There's a lot of activity going on in there. There's also hydrogen with Plug Power and Nikola, which just went public. So it's, these companies with alternative energy as their core business are getting a ton of publicity, and their stocks are seeing a lot of demand right now.
Yeah, I would tell you, go check out our Sticks trade. There's some multiple videos on it, and semis making new highs as well, which is a really digital steel at the heart of America 2.0.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like the Dow theory with the transportation stocks as a proxy for the economy. Now, semiconductors, which are in every electronic device that you use, that is now like kind of the core. The heartbeat of the economy is through semiconductors. So the better that things are going, the more things are being built and used, the more semiconductors we need.
Right. And then the Sticks trades, which is 5 ETFs, really encapsulates America 2.0, semiconductors, new energy, housing, because the millennial generation represents obviously a bid for housing. However, they also represent really the new bid, the new demand for stocks in the stock market. And people say, well, Paul, that doesn't matter. However, Ian, are you ever going to buy Wells Fargo?
Yeah, absolutely not.
Are you gonna buy, I don't know, Dow Chemical? Are you gonna buy? I just look at the stock, Exxon Mobil. I don't really see you ever buying that. So the audience for that stocks, for those stocks is disappearing. So it pays to focus on what your experience, what is the majority generation in terms of like demand, both in the stock market. Those are the stocks that are going to get a bid, because those are the businesses that millennials use. That's what their experience is.
Yeah, exactly. So another one of those, millennial focused sectors of the stock market is marijuana.
Right.
Millennials use Robinhood now more than ever. I think during like the lockdowns, a lot of people got into trading. Robinhood was like, spiked in popularity over the past few months. People that I know that I'd never heard talk about stocks before are now using it. They're trading. They're asking me what they should buy. And marijuana stocks are, one of the most held stocks on there. So millennials are buying those stocks, holding them through, the worst of times, which I believe is over, but they are still holding on. They're still buying more. So you see a big core, group of people that are willing to support these stocks and hold them no matter what, kind of like HODL with crypto.
Right. And we were talking before, we've seen stocks like Green Organic Dutchman, Hexo, small stocks in cannabis get a bid. And then you put up this article in our Slack channel from Marijuana Business Daily, and we'll put up this chart showing that 2020 is on pace to have increase of 40% in terms of demand. But the even bigger number really is that $30 to $37 billion number in 2024, which is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the highest valued marijuana company out there right now is Canopy, and I think they're like $6 billion. And they don't even do that much business in the U.S. They're mostly in Canada and Europe. But the U.S. market is huge, and the companies right now that are doing business there are like maybe a couple $1 billion, but 30 to 37 billion. The industry is consolidating. There's going to be less key players. There are a few big name stocks that do business in the U.S., like Curaleaf is a big one, but still only $1 billion. And the market's forward looking. So once it gets past this point where there's like this bearish overview of the marijuana market, these stocks are really going to take off. And take that 30 to 37 billion dollar estimate into consideration for the value of these companies.
Yeah, and I'll say, people, I think somebody tweeted when I put the article up, said, oh, I'll come in 2024 and buy the top companies. Listen, folks, the market looks forward, does not look backward. You wait for 2024. It will now be pricing in growth for for 2028. The market looks forward as much as 1, 3, 5, and for very large growth opportunities or very certain growth opportunities, it will look even 7 years ahead, which is why Tesla even 3 years ago had the market capitalization that it did, or Amazon did.
Right.
And the same thing we believe is going to happen with cannabis. So, we've got cannabis stocks across our portfolios. So please, if you're in there, we've sat through a very ugly period of time. However, we believe it's going to come back and more than make up all of the losses that's in there. I've personally seen that happen in my personal trading accounts. I've seen it happen in professionally managed accounts. So we are still bullish, optimistic, positive on cannabis stocks. All right, Ian, let's quickly also go through crypto.
Yep.
Since we've done stock markets, Tesla, cannabis. You've been telling me about some of these like smaller cryptos that have just been on fire, 1,000% gains. So I've really not
Yeah.
been tracking that part of the market quite as closely. I know things like Chainlink have been making new highs, but there's others that are just going up even faster.
Yeah, so Chainlink's a good example. They're a smaller coin. I think they're ranked number 12, something like that. But yeah, they weren't around during the big, hype bubble of 2017. And yeah, that the price of Chainlink is making an all-time high, which is great. Another one like that is VeChain. They're I think all-time highs now. But they came in late in 2017. And Cardano's up, Kyber Network and Bancor. These companies are projects that work to swap tokens through their respective blockchains. So if you have one crypto, you can swap it out for a different one pretty much instantly. That's super useful. And the more trading goes up, the more people start trading crypto, which is already catching fire just from the past few months because of these rallies. Those companies are really going to see a lot of demand for their tokens. And yeah, they're some of these are up like hundreds of percent just in the past few months.
Yeah, and just to make clear, we've got through trackers in the Profits Unlimited portfolio exposure to Bitcoin, Ethereum. We are bullish, optimistic, positive on both. And generally speaking, and I can say that when you see that formation in markets where the smaller stuff starts to go up, that's usually a very good indicator that that bull market is real. And so we would expect the billions of dollars that want to come into Bitcoin, et cetera, is going to come in and make new
Right.
highs. And we're on record as saying we believe Bitcoin's going to make new highs this year, first get past 20,000. And then people say, you're crazy, Paul, 50,000, not possible. However, we've seen bigger moves than that.
Yeah, I mean, once you get to 20, it's just 150% up from there. And Bitcoin, back in 2016, 2017, did that in like a couple months. So it doesn't take long once it gets going to new highs.
Yeah, and I think further out, using the stock to flow model as well as log normal distribution numbers, $250,000, something in that range looks to be the peak, which is I don't know, in the 2023 sort of 2025 realm, which is very much in line with what Tim Draper as well believes.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, and speaking of the smaller coins, I saw Dogecoin went up like 60% the other day. There's some group of people trying to push it to 1 cent.
Well, that's Elon's favorite coin.
Yeah, I know.
That might be the currency in Mars. Once we get there. So just make clear, we are still bullish, optimistic, positive on crypto in general, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and in general, we would say while for people that are got very bearish, this is all going to feel like everything is sort of going up, and we're going to get all the usual terms: too far, too fast, Fed-induced bubble. Right. I don't know what the others would be. I don't know. Market trading on hope. I mean, there's been a lot of these things.
Yeah.
But we are still bullish, optimistic, positive on America 2.0. I suppose things like Apple and stuff like that, could see some amount of a bid, but I would expect a separation between America 2.0 stocks with real growth prospects versus just pure liquidity-driven bid ups.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff can happen way faster than you think too.
Right.
You know, ExxonMobil was the biggest company in the world not even 10 years ago. So it can happen quick.
All right, so we're going to end this Ian cast. Ian, we're still bullish, optimistic, positive. America 2.0 stocks, cannabis stocks, which does look like they're the smallest stocks are catching a bid. Tesla, well, it's at 1,400. There's ups and downs, so don't get caught up too much in the frenzy that happens. That's in there. And then crypto, we think this is the beginning of a move because once again, of the small ones. All right, Ian, let's bring this Ian cast to an end. You say goodbye first, and I'll follow you.
All right, everybody. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend and stay safe.
And this is Paul saying bye.